வணக்கம் அண்ட் வெல்கம் டு another stream. இன்னைக்கு நம்ம போட போகிற ஃப்ளைட் வந்து பம்பார்டியரோட Q400 அப்படின்ற ஒரு மாடல் ஏர்பிளேனில். ஸோ இன்னைக்கு தேர்ஸ்டே அப்படின்றதுனால IVAO கேனடா டிவிஷனில் இன்னைக்கு ஆன்லைன் டே அப்படின்னா ஒன்றும் இல்லை. within the டிவிஷன் வந்து எல்லா மெம்பர்ஸையும் வந்து ஃப்ளை பண்ணுங்கள், அவர் வந்து ஏர் டிராஃபிக் கண்ட்ரோல் பண்ணுங்கள் அப்படின்னு என்கரேஜ் பண்ணுற விதமாக லைக் ஐவிஏஓவில் இருக்கிற எல்லா டிவிஷனும் பண்ணக்கூடிய ஒரு ஈவெண்ட்டு தான் இது. எவ்ரி வீக் ஏதோ ஒரு டே ஸ்பெசிஃபிக் டேயில் இந்த ஈவெண்ட் நடக்கும். அந்த மாதிரி கெனடியன் டிவிஷனில் இந்த ஈவெண்ட்டோட ஸ்டார்ட் டைம் வந்து லோக்கல் டைமில் மத்தியானம் 2 மணிக்கு ஆரம்பிக்கும். ஒரு ஈஸ்டர்ன் ஸ்டாண்டர்ட் டைமில் சொல்லணுன்னா. இப்போது நைட்டு இங்கே 10 ஆகுது. ஸ்டில் இந்த ஈவெண்ட் இன்னும் ஆன்லைனில் தான் இருக்குது, ஆர் ஈவெண்ட் இன்னும் நடந்துட்டு தான் இருக்குது. ஈவெண்ட்டுனா அப்படியே பயங்கர எங்கேஜிங்காக ஒரு கஜ கஜ கஜன்னு கூட்டம் இருக்கும் அப்படின்னு கிடையாது. இது வந்து ஒரு 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 சின்ன ஒரு ஒரு புஷ் ஆர் மோட்டிவேஷன்னு சொல்லலாம். டிவிஷனில் இருக்கிற மெம்பர்ஸ்க்கு ஒரு சின்ன ஆக்டிவிட்டி. இன்றைக்கி லைக் இந்த டைமில் நம்ம என்ன பண்ணணும், ஆர் அந்த ஈவெண்ட் டைமில் நான் என்ன பண்ணணும் அப்படின்னா, ஒவ்வொரு வீக்கும் நீங்கள் கண்டினியூஸாக அந்த அந்த within the event டைம் நீங்கள் 1 hour உங்களோட கான்ட்ரிபியூஷன் இருக்கணும் டிவிஷனுக்கு. இட் கேன் பி ஃப்ளையிங் ஆர் இட் கேன் பி ஏர் டிராஃபிக் கண்ட்ரோலிங். ஸோ என்னோடய ஃபேவரட் யூஸ்வலாக ஃப்ளையிங்கிறதுனால இன்றைக்கி நான் அதான் பண்ண போகிறேன். ஸோ 1 hour நான் ஆன்லைனில் இருக்கணும் within the டிவிஷன். அந்த 1 hourல வந்து நான் ஒரு ஃப்ளைட் பண்ணியிருக்கணும். லைக் எய்தர் நான் கேனடாலேருந்து கிளம்பி வெளி கண்ட்ரிக்கும் போகலாம், ஆர் வெளி கண்ட்ரிலேருந்து கிளம்பி கேனடாக்கும் வரலாம், ஆர் within the கெனடியன் டிவிஷன் இருக்கிற ஏர்போர்ட்ஸ்குள்ளே ஃப்ளை பண்ணலாம். பட் நான் 1 hour இருக்கணும். அந்த 1 hourல வந்து எய்தர் டிபார்ச்சர் ஆர் அரைவல் ஆர் போத் ஏர்போர்ட் ஷுட் பி within கேனடா. இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு 1 hour டைம் ரெஸ்ட்ரிக்ஷன், லைக் அதுக்கு மேலே கூட இருக்கலாம், பட் மினிமம் 1 hour அப்படின்றதுனால அண்ட் ஆல்மோஸ்ட் லைக் இங்கே லேட் நைட் ஆகிட்டதுனால நான் யூஸ்வலாக பெரிய ஃப்ளைட் போட மாட்டேன். விதின் ஒன்டாரியோவில் சட்பரி அப்படின்ற ஒரு ஊரில் இருந்து நம்ம டொரண்டோக்கு ஃப்ளை பண்ண போகிறோம். இது வந்து ஒரு ரியல் வேர்ல்டோட ஃப்ளைட்டை தான் ரெப்ளிகேட் பண்ணுறோம். அந்த ஃப்ளைட் நம்பர் பார்த்திங்கன்னா ஜாஸ் 240. அது வந்து சட்பரி டு டொரண்டோ டெய்லி ஃப்ளை பண்ணுவாங்க. இந்த ஃப்ளைட்டோட ஆவரேஜ் டைம் 45 minutes. நம்ம எவ்வளோ நேரம் எவ்வளோ ஸ்லோவாக ஆர் ஃபாஸ்ட்டாக ஃப்ளை பண்ணுறோம் அப்படின்றத பொறுத்து இட் கேன் கோ அப் டு 1 hour. லைக் விண்ட்ஸும் அங்கே ஒரு மேஜர் ரோல் ப்ளே பண்ணோம். இன்றைக்கி நமக்கு எவ்வளோ நேரம் ஆகுது இந்த ஃப்ளைட் போடுறதுக்கு அப்படின்னு பார்க்கலாம். ஸோ ஃப்ளைட் பிளானிங் உள்ள நுழையலாம். சிம் ப்ரீஃப், நியூ ஃப்ளைட். ஸோ நான் ஆல்ரெடி சொன்ன மாதிரி ஃப்ளைட்டோட கால் சைன் வந்து ஏர் கேனடா 240. ஸோ JZA 240 தான் இன்றைக்கி நம்ம ஃப்ளைட் நம்பர். JZA ஆர் ஜாஸ். லைக் ஜாஸ் அப்படின்றது வந்து ஏர் கேனடா ஒரு சின்ன டிவிஷன் தான். இவங்க வந்து ரீஜனல் ஜெட்ஸ் தான் மோஸ்ட்லி ஃப்ளை பண்ணுவாங்க. ரீஜனல் ஜெட்ஸ் வில் ஆல்சோ இன்க்ளூட் டர்போ ப்ராப்ஸ். ஸோ அப்படி ஒரு டர்போ ப்ராப் தான் நம்ம இன்றைக்கி ஃப்ளை பண்ணுறோம். JZA 240. நம்ம டிபார்ச்சர் ஏர்போர்ட் வந்து சட்பரி, விச் இஸ் CYSB. நம்ம அரைவல் வந்து டொரண்டோ பியர்சன் CYYZ. ஏர்பிளேன் மாடல் வந்து DH8D. நம்ம யூஸ்வலாக மேக்ஸிமம் க்ரூஸ் ரேஞ்ச் இருக்கிற ஒரு பவர் செட்டிங்ஸ் தான் நம்ம க்ரூஸில் யூஸ் பண்ணுவோம். ஸோ அந்த ஆப்ஷன். கிளைம் ப்ரொஃபைல் வந்து 900 RPM. வேறு என்ன சூஸ் பண்ணணும், விண்ட் எப்படி இருக்குன்னு பார்க்கணும். ஸோ இங்கே டுவர்ட்ஸ் நார்த் ஆஃப் ஆர் லிட்டில் நார்த் வெஸ்ட் ஆஃப் டொரண்டோவில் தான் சட்பரி இருக்குது, ஒன்டாரியோவில். இந்த ஏர்போர்ட்டில் இப்போது விண்ட் கண்டிஷன் எப்படி இருக்குது அப்படின்னா, சவுத் வெஸ்ட்லேருந்து 4 knots விண்ட் அடிக்குது. நமக்கு சாதகமாக இங்கே டேக் ஆஃப்க்கு ரன்வே 22 யூஸ் பண்ணலாம். ஃப்ளைட் பிளானிங்கில் அந்த ரன்வே தான் டிஃபால்ட்டாக சூஸ் ஆகிருக்கு. டொரண்டோ பியர்சனில் என்ன ரன்வே இருக்குதுன்னு பார்க்கலாம், ஆக்டிவ் ரன்வே. ஸோ இந்த ஃப்ளைட் ரேடார் 24 அப்படிங்கிறது ரியல் வேர்ல்டு ஃப்ளைட்ஸை கேப்சர் பண்ணுற ஒரு போர்ட்டல் தான். லைக் இட் இஸ் ஃப்ரீ. anyone can go to flightradar24.com and view or track the live flights. இவங்களுக்கு மொபைல் ஆப்பும் இருக்குது. ஸோ அதுவும் நீங்கள் ஃபோனில் யூஸ் பண்ணிக்கலாம். ஐ மீன் எந்த ப்ரமோஷனும் கிடையாது. பட் ஜஸ்ட் ஒரு அவேர்னஸ்க்காக சொல்கிறேன். லைக் ரியல் வேர்ல்டில் இப்போ உங்களோட தெரிஞ்சவங்க யாராவது ஒரு ஃப்ளைட்டில் ட்ராவல் பண்ண போகிறாங்க அப்படின்னா, நீங்கள் சிம்பிளாக இந்த வெப்சைட் போயிட்டு ஃப்ளைட் நம்பர் டைப் பண்ணிங்க அப்படின்னா, அது உங்களுக்கு அந்த ஃப்ளைட்டோட லைவ் டீட்டெயில்ஸ் ஆர் பாஸ்ட் ஃபியூ டேஸ் ஸ்கெட்யூல் காட்டும். ஸோ நம்ம இந்த ஃப்ளைட்டை ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் இப்போ சர்ச் பண்ணணுன்னா JZA 240 அப்படின்னு போட்டோன்னா 2 ஃப்ளைட் காட்டுது. சாரி, 240. ஸோ ஒன்று பார்த்தீங்கன்னா 435 தான் ஆக்சுவல் ஃப்ளைட் நம்பர், ஒன்று வந்து டெயில் நம்பர். ஸோ ரெண்டுமே 240 மேட்ச் ஆகிறது இதுதான். ஸோ நான் இதை கிளிக் பண்ணேன்னா ஒரு புது விண்டோவில் நமக்கு பாஸ்ட் இவ்வளோ டேஸ் இந்த ரூட்டில் ஃப்ளை பண்ணி இருக்குது, அதனோட அதர் டீட்டெயில்ஸும் இங்கே காட்டும். லைக் ஸ்டாண்டர்ட் டிபார்ச்சர் டைம், லைக் அரைவல் டைம் அண்ட் ஸோ டீட்டெயில்ஸ். லைக் நீங்கள் பார்த்தீங்கன்னாவே எல்லாமே செல்ஃப் எக்ஸ்பிளனேட்டரி தான். இப்போது நம்ம நெக்ஸ்ட் என்ன பண்ணுறோன்னா அரைவல் ரன்வே 05 தான் ஆக்டிவாக டொரண்டோவில் அப்படின்னு பார்க்கணும். 05ல் டிபார்ச்சர்ஸ் நடக்குது, அரைவல் நடக்குதா மோஸ்ட்லி இல்லை. பேஸ்ட் ஆன் த டிராஃபிக் தான். நாம் அரைவல் வந்து ரியல் வேர்ல்டில் 06 ரைட் யூஸ் பண்ணுறாங்க. நாமளும் அதே சூஸ் பண்ணிக்கலாம். 06 ரைட் ஃபார் அரைவல். நியூ ரூட் இந்த ரன்வேக்காக சூஸ் பண்ணுமான்னு கேட்டது சிஸ்டம். நான் ஓகே அப்படின்னு போட்டேன். ஸோ நமக்கு இன்றைக்கி சிம்பிள் ரூட் தான். டேக் ஆஃப் பண்ணிவிட்டு டைரெக்டாக வே பாயிண்ட் இருக்கிம் அப்படின்ற வே பாயிண்ட்டுக்கு டைரெக்ட் ட்ராக் பண்ணிவிட்டு இன்றைக்கி ஸ்டாண்டர்ட் ஸ்டார் லைக் ஸ்டாண்டர்ட் டெர்மினல் அப்ரோச் ப்ரொசீஜர் இருக்கும். லைக் ஒவ்வொரு ஏர்போர்ட்டுக்குமே ஒவ்வொரு ரன்வேக்கும் நீங்கள் ஸ்டாண்டர்டாக இந்த வேல வந்து இப்படி நீங்கள் அரைவ் ஆகலாம் அப்படின்னு ப்ரீ டிஃபைன்டாக ஒரு ப்ரொசீஜர் வச்சுருப்பாங்க. ஸோ அது ஃபாலோ பண்ணும்போது என்ன ஆகும் அப்படின்னா, ஏர் டிராஃபிக் கண்ட்ரோலர்ஸ்க்கு அந்த ஏரியாவில் இருக்கிற டிராஃபிக்கை மேனேஜ் பண்ணுறதுக்கு ஈஸியாக இருக்கும். அவ்வளோதான், வேறு ஒன்றும் இல்லை. ஸோ நம்ம அந்த ரூட் தான் இன்றைக்கி ஃபாலோ பண்ணுறோம். இக்ரிம் ஃபாலோட் பை டுவோஸ் 4 அப்படின்ற அரைவல் ப்ரொசீஜர். ஸோ இதுதான் நம்ம இப்போ ஃப்ளை பண்ண போகிற பிளேன். ஏர் கனடா எக்ஸ்பிரஸ் ஆர் ஜாஸ் ஏவியேஷன். ஆல்ரெடி கிரவுண்ட் பவர் கனெக்ட் ஆகி தான் இருக்குது. இதில் ஒரு சின்ன இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங் ஃபேக்ட் என்ன அப்படின்னா, இந்த மாடல் பேர் Q400 அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. ஸோ என் லைஃப்பில் நான் ஃபஸ்ட் டைம் ஏரோப்ளேனில் போனேன். என் வாழ்க்கையில் இது தாங்க தடவை ஏரோப்ளேனே அப்படின்ற ஒரு சிச்சுவேஷன் அப்படின்னா, அது இந்த ஃப்ளைட் மாடலில் தான். சென்னையிலேருந்து கோழிக்கோடு வரைக்கும் ஃப்ளை பண்ணோம் ஸ்பைஸ் ஜெட்டில். அப்போது சவுத் இந்தியாவில் ஸ்பைஸ் ஜெட் ஃப்ளைட்ஸ் நிறைய இருந்தது. லைக் சன் பிக்சர்ஸ் வச்சுருந்தப்போ ஆர் சன் நெட்வொர்க் வச்சுருந்தப்போ. அதுக்கப்புறமா அதை வேறு யாரோ இப்போ வச்சுருக்காங்க. அதனால் நார்த் இந்தியாவில் தான் ஸ்பைஸ் ஜெட் இப்போ நிறைய ஃப்ளை பண்ணுறாங்க, எஸ்பெஷலி இந்த மாடல் ஏர்ப்ளேன். ஸோ நம்ம ஃப்ளைட் உள்ளே போயிட்டு ரெஸ்ட் ஆஃப் த ஃப்ளைட்டை ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணலாம். இருட்டாக இருக்குது, ஆனால் நமக்கு கிரவுண்ட் பவர் கனெக்ட் ஆகிருக்கு. ஸோ ஆக்சிஜன் மாஸ்க் வேண்டாம். ஏவியேஷன் ஃப்ளாஷ் லைட். ஃபஸ்ட்டு நம்ம பேட்ரி பவர் ஆன் பண்ணுறோம், ஃபாலோட் பை எக்ஸ்டர்னல் பவரையும் ஆன் பண்ணுறோம். பேட்ரி பவர் ஆன், எக்ஸ்டர்னல் பவர் ஆன், அண்ட் மெயின் பேட்ரி, ஆக்ஸ் பேட்ரி, ஸ்டாண்ட்பை பேட்ரி மூணுமே ஆன் பண்ணுறோம். அதுக்கப்புறமா கீழே பார்த்தீங்கன்னா விண்ட்ஷீல்டு ஹீட்டு வந்து நார்மல் பொசிஷன். அதுக்கப்புறமா பைலட் சைடு விண்டோ ஹீட். ரெண்டுத்துக்கும் என்ன வித்தியாசம்னா, இது வந்து விண்ட்ஷீல்டுன்றது இந்த முன்னாடி இருக்கிற 2 ஜன்னல். விண்டோ ஹீட் அப்படின்றது இங்கே சைடில் இருக்கிற இந்த ஜன்னல். இதுவுமே முக்கியம்தான். ஏன்னா நம்ம இது வழியாக இப்படி எட்டி பார்த்தோம்னா விங்கோட சிச்சுவேஷன் அண்ட் ப்ராப்புலரோட சிச்சுவேஷன் தெரியும். ஏன் இது முக்கியம் அப்படின்னா, இப்போ ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் ஏதோ ஒரு பேர்ட் ஸ்ட்ரைக் நடக்குது, இல்லை ஒரு இன்ஜின் ஃபயர் சிச்சுவேஷன், இல்லை ஒரு ஐசிங் கண்டிஷன் அப்படின்னா, இன்ஜின் என்ன நிலமையில் இருக்குது, விங்ஸ் என்ன நிலமையில் இருக்குது அப்படின்ட்டு இங்கேருந்து நம்மளுக்கு பார்க்குறதுக்கு பைலட்ஸ்க்கு ஈஸியாக இருக்கும். அதே மாதிரி கொஞ்சம் எட்டி பார்க்க ட்ரை பண்ணோன்னா நமக்கு லேண்டிங் கியரோட வியூவும் கிடைக்கும். ஸோ அதனால் இந்த விண்டோ கிளியராக இருந்தால் தான் அதெல்லாம் பார்க்க முடியும். அதனால தான் எப்பேற்பட்ட ஒரு 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 வின்டர் கண்டிஷன்லேயும் இந்த விண்டோவும் கிளியராக இருக்கணும் அப்படின்றதுக்காக தான் நமக்கு இந்த ஃபெசிலிட்டி இருக்குது. அப்படியே நம்ம ஓவர் ஹெட்டு போயிட்டு ரைட் சைட் ஸ்கேன் பண்ணோன்னா ஏசி, டிசி 2 கண்ட்ரோல் இருக்கும். ஸோ ஏசி கண்ட்ரோலுக்கும் நம்ம எக்ஸ்டர்னல் பவரை கனெக்ட் பண்ணலாம். ரீசர்க்குலேட்டிங் ஃபேன்ஸ் ஆன் அண்ட் ஃபேனோட ஸ்டேட்டஸ் மினிமம், நார்மல், மேக்ஸ் இருக்குது. நார்மல் போதும். fasten seat belt signs are on, no smoking is on. எமர்ஜென்சி லைட்ஸை வந்து ஆம் பொசிஷனுக்கு வைக்கிறோம். அதுக்கப்புறமா இங்கே இருக்கிற லைட்ஸ் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா நேவ் லைட்ஸ் ஆன் பண்ணுறோம், லோகோ லைட்ஸ் ஆன் பண்ணுறோம், விங் லைட்ஸ் ஆன் பண்ணுறோம். வேறு என்ன, இங்கே ஓவர் ஹெட் கன்சோலில் இவ்வளோ பளிர்னு நமக்கு லைட்ஸ் வேண்டாம். ஸோ கொஞ்சம் கம்மி பண்ணிக்கலான்னு நினைக்கிறேன். அதே மாதிரி தான் மிச்ச லைட்ஸும். டோம் லைட்ஸ் இப்போதைக்கு ஆன் பண்ணிக்கலாம் கிரவுண்டில் இருக்கிற வரைக்கும். ஒன்ஸ் நம்ம ஃப்ளைட்டெல்லாம் செட்டப் பண்ணிட்டதுக்கப்புறமா மிச்ச லைட்ஸ் ஆன் பண்ணலாம். ஓகே, we have somebody in the chat. Hi, which place is this? This is Sudbury Airport in Ontario. I don't know if you understand English only or if you can speak other language. Most of the stream will be in Tamil, which is my native language. But just in case if you don't understand, please let me know in chat so that I can speak in English or make it neutral so that everyone can understand. Oh, okay. So your question is, which plane is this? So the plane is manufactured by a company called Bombardier. That is a Canadian company. And this particular airplane model is Q400. In other terms, like it is also called as Dash 8. So I can show you from external view. So this is how it looks. It is a turboprop airplane where the engines are mounted on the wings, and the landing gear is also like attached to the lower portion of the engine. Okay, so let's get the other systems started. We will turn on the radio systems and the central display, which is right here, and then we need to turn on the other two displays on each side of the cockpit. So I'll turn on the captain displays, and now I'll turn on the co-pilot displays. And the landing flap that we will use today will be, what is this, that 15? Yes. So the flaps 35 is required only when we are doing a short runway approach. I don't think it is required for our current flight, so the default option will be 15. I'll leave that as it is, and let's turn on the dome lights. So we have some lights from the roof, as well as we'll turn on the storm lights, which will give some additional lights over here in the front panel. I'll turn off the aviation lights, and let's go to the weight and balance. Select load. So this plane is an add-on, like it's a payware from like I think it's called a Q4XP, whereas the developer name is I think it is, let me see if I can find it somewhere, but it's a beautiful aircraft, like a beautiful add-on for Explain 12. So let's go ahead with selecting the load. So I go on, click and select on load, and then we have all these options where you can select the total number of passengers and the total cargo that we want to carry today, the total flight time with the total fuel. All of these are like modular, like easily customizable, but all we are going to do is set the zero fuel weight so that rest of the details can be calculated by the system automatically. So I'll try to move the slider and set a zero fuel weight for this flight. We also need to make sure the center of gravity of this total load, including the people, luggage, and the fuel, does not go out of these two red lines. Like the more it is within these red lines, it is this plane's center of gravity will help us for smooth flight. So let's see if we can have it somewhere around 32. Okay, that's too light for today's flight. Let's add some more weight. Let's see. Okay, 30.39. That's perfect, I think. So our total zero fuel weight for today will be 24,000 approximately, or 24,100 kilograms. And the system, or this weight and balance system, automatically calculated that for an approximate 55 people and a total cargo of 1,440 kilograms. So our next step will be to use this zero fuel weight and do the rest of the flight calculation. So I will put in the zero fuel weight as 24,100 to the nearest round up number, and our approximate departure time will be 3 UTC, and we have an alternate airport selected by the system as London, Ontario, which is CYXU. So I click on generate flight, and that's going to give us the required fuel and what will be our cruise altitude today. So the required fuel for our flight will be 2,170 kilograms, which includes the reserve fuel as well as the fuel required to go to the alternate airport, just in case if we cannot make it at Toronto Pearson. Whereas our actual fuel required to fly from Sudbury to Toronto will be 830 kilograms, and we'll be cruising at 22,000 feet, because while doing the calculation we can see like the zero fuel weight is almost close to the maximum zero fuel weight. Since we are a little heavy today, we are going to fly at a little lower altitude than usual. And I'm wondering why did the system give us 22,000 feet? It should actually be odd number. It should be 23 or 21 or 25, because the flight for today is actually eastbound. If it's eastbound flight, then the flight level should be in odd numbers. But since the system gave 22, and if there is going to be an air traffic controller, I don't want him or her to give us instruction to either climb to 23 or 21. So to be on the safer side, I'm going to fly at 21,000 feet. I will change this when I'm going to submit a flight plan to the online network. But in the even before I go there, I want to put in the block fuel weight and then start loading the airplane, so that we will have time for other systems, time to set up the other systems. So let me turn this on, and then I'll go back to the weight and balance. So today's required fuel is 2,170. I'll put that here in total fuel, 2,170, or I'll set it as 2,200 just to round it up. And our flight time today is approximately 43 minutes. And the block time includes the time we push back from the gate, and all the way up to the time we reach Toronto Pearson and then connect to the gate and turn off the engines. So that's going to be approximately 1 hour. Whereas the actual air time, like the moment we start rolling on the runway from the departure airport, and to the moment we touch down in Toronto, that will approximately be 43 minutes. This will vary depending on how fast we are going to set the cruise power within the plane, and the amount of wind that is there at 21,000 feet. So this is set. The system gave us that our approximate takeoff weight is going to be like this is zero fuel weight plus the fuel weight is our total takeoff weight, which should be around 26,200. And we have almost same, like approximate 100 kgs difference, which is still fine. So I'll go to load summary, and then we check the remaining details here. So if I zoom into the Sudbury airport, the winds that we have here is 4 knots. It's variable winds. It's not from a specific direction. Instead, it's like it is like it can flow from any direction, and it's 4 knots of winds. The outside temperature is 23 degrees, and the barometric pressure is 29904. So 23 is what I wanted to check from here. So I set the temperature at sea level is 23 degrees, and our en route time or en route time will be 43 minutes. Oops. 43. So the route distance, based on the time we gave, it automatically chose 180 nautical miles. I think it's close to that. Okay, it's actually not. It's actually 225 nautical miles. So we'll leave that as it is. Taxi time will be 10 minutes. We won't need more than that. Taxi time is the time we spend on the ground. Let's say this is the airport layout and we are right here. So let's say if we want to take off from runway 22, so we have to push back into this taxi line and taxi all the way to the runway 22. So this procedure is called a taxi, and we will need a maximum of 10 minutes, not more than that. Reserve fuel time is 30 minutes, fine. And the reserve fuel quantity is close to 430 kilograms. Let's see if that is the case. So this is the actual flight plan. And if we check here, the reserve fuel is 0.44. So this is like, this value is 1000 or in thousands in short. So let's say if it is 0.44, then it means it's 440 kilograms is what the system gave us. Whereas this weight and balance or the load summary also gave us approximately the same weight. Everything else is fine. The system actually, or the plane itself actually suggests us to go or choose 19,000 feet as our cruising altitude. Whereas the flight planning tool gave us 22,000. So let's choose 21,000. We have to be in odd altitude, and 19 may be really low. Let's go to 21,000. I think this is like for the rest of the flight, like landing fuel is estimated to be 1,300 kilograms, and total passengers are 55. Pax weight, like just the passenger weight alone, is estimated to be 4,300 kilograms, and the total cargo weight of 1,400 kilograms. So all the other details were available in the previous page or in the load summary. So we will confirm the load and we will start loading. So the best thing about this load manager for this particular add-on is that it will literally show us whenever somebody loads into the plane and then takes a seat here. The best part is, like, if we hover on that person, we will see the person's name, age, and then we have the seat information, and then it also says if whether the person is male or female. And I think interestingly, this also sometimes shows if it's a child or an adult, and the system randomly picks up a name, also the age of that person, and the approximate weight, which is the coolest thing I have ever seen in an add-on plane for any simulator for that matter. So this will take some time. The loading just started. Right now the packs are boarding. Do you also play MSFS 2024? I mean, I do have that simulator, but I'm not very active. The reason being, like, when you start spending more on one simulator, it goes to a point where you don't want to start from the scratch on spending for the add-ons for the other simulator. Um, it's not like I like one thing and don't like the other thing. It's just that I don't want to spend again like all the money into new add-ons for MSFS 2024. But if required, I can of course make the one of the upcoming streams in MSFS 2024. So we can see the packs are getting boarded. The airplane is also getting refueled, and the bags are also getting loaded into the airplane. I think we can do the rest of the procedure. So one fact or one thing about the Q400 is that unlike the modern jetliners, where we program on one of these flight management computers and the data automatically reflects into the other, this plane, or in this particular model of on the airplane, we have to program into one of the flight management computers, and then we have to do a crossfill manually so that the data from the left flight management computer gets replicated into the one here on the right side. This is how it is done in the real world airplane also. So let's start with the flight data or the fuel section. So our total or the zero fuel weight for today is 24,100 kilogram, 24,100, and I hit enter, and the total fuel is going to be 2,200 kilograms, 2,200, hit enter, and that gave us a gross weight, which includes both the zero fuel weight plus the fuel. So let's go into the flight plan. We are going to depart from CYSB. I go into menu, depart, and we are going to use the runway 22. Okay, I already hit program in one MCDU. Programming 2 will be so painful. Yeah, I agree. So that's why we have the master crossfill option, which is nice. But the only downside would be, let's say, if I try to delete a waypoint from one, then it won't automatically replicate over here. So in real world procedure, the pilot has to delete it on the other one to synchronize or be in sync with the captain's flight management computer. So we'll take runway 22. So I select the option 3, hit enter. We will choose CYSB2 departure. Let's take a look at the departure procedure. It will mostly be to fly runway heading up to 5,000 feet or something like that. So let's see. CYSB2 procedure. And if I open the charts, yep, initial climb for any of these runways. So let's say in our case it's runway 22. So we'll be climb on heading 220 degrees or as assigned. I don't think we have an air traffic controller today. So what we'll do is we will climb heading 220 up to 4,000 feet. And from there, we don't have anyone to do radar vectors today. So we will navigate ourselves to the next waypoint. So we're going to, once we are airborne, we will climb heading 220 up to 4,000 feet, and then we will track direct to IRChem waypoint. So we will select this standard instrument departure procedure, and there's no transition. So we hit enter, go to the flight plan. So it says 220 degrees, and we can directly go into the star or the standard terminal arrival procedure into YYZ, and this will mostly be the transition for the star. So I go in here, menu, arrive, and we are going to arrive into Toronto Pearson. CYYZ. Do you like CFM Leap engines more or Pratt and Whitney engines more in the 320? Honestly, I like the Pratt and Whitney purely because of the way it sounds. I like what I feel is that the Pratt and Whitney sounds are way better than the Leap. I don't have any uh, hardship for the Leap engines. It's just that I said what I felt. That's all. And then I hit enter. We are going to accept that it's Toronto Pearson. So we're going to fly into the runway 06 right. So I again choose option 3. And it's going to be duos for arrival. So I select the option 2, IRCM transition. So I select option 1 for that. And then it's going to be an ILS approach. So I again select option 1. We don't need another transition, so we'll leave this as it is. I'm not going to select anything. I'll just hit enter. We'll go back to the flight plan. And after this vector, it's going to be a break in the flight plan. Okay. Do you also have to feather in Q400 or it's just the throttle? So we have the prop option. Yes, we do have the feather option also. And then we also have the throttle. I hope I answered your question. So resuming with the flight plan verification, what we'll do is we will delete these vectors because we have to vector ourselves, and then we will delete this link or break in the flight plan. So what the system will do is right after we hit this initial waypoint or the initial fix, the system will automatically navigate to the next waypoint, which is IRCM, and it's going to be duos, Debco, Airbus, Modal, Celab, Dunop, Litro, Derly, all these crazy name for the waypoints. And from there we have to vector ourselves to line up with the runway 06 right. So I will delete remaining vectors or breaks or any entries in between so that we can directly go from Derly to Lobco. Let's see if that is how it is in the Navigraph charts. I select this in the route. I'll uncheck these two, and we have 30 approaches available. Our approach runway will be 06 right, and we are not going to have any transition, so we can directly go to final. I'll add this to the route. Whereas we have an extended downwind here when we approach or arrive into Toronto Pearson, and right after Celab waypoint, we will directly take a left turn or do a left base turn and then line up with the runway. We don't need to go all the way to the extended downwind all the way up to Guelph. I don't think it's required until or unless the air traffic controller asks us to do. So what we can do is after Celab, we will directly go to Lobco, and I will clear the remaining waypoints in between. So I'll delete Dunop, also the Litro waypoint and Durley waypoint. So from Celab, we'll directly go to the Lobco. And since like this requires a lot of manual work, the easiest way is to have the course set even before we take off from here, assuming that the winds are going to remain the same and there won't be any change in the runway. what I'll do is I'll see what the final approach course will be for 06, right? Open chart. It's going to be 057. So I'll set that here in ILS 1 course. So I changed the course 057. Where is 057? It's right here. Okay. So I changed that to 057 and set the same for nav 1 on the Copilot side. So here by default the VOR2 is selected. So I tuned the nav source to nav 1, which is ILS 1, and set the course to 057. It's the other way, 057, set and check. And once that is done, we can set the nav source to FMS1 so that both the Copilot and Captain can have whatever is there in FMS1 as their navigation source for today. So we will switch to the other nav source or the ILS while we are almost there on the final. So the nav FMS1 is selected, and we can, like, we just heard a sound that the door was closed, which means all the packs in bags are loaded and the airplane is also fueled. So we are good to start the engines, but we are yet to do the programming here. So whatever we have to do here is already set. We are here in page 1, and now is the interesting part to do the crossfill. So what we will do here is we'll go to the master crossfill, and we select the option FMS1, and then like the data is being transferred from left to right. And now if we go into flight plan page, we can literally see whatever is in here, and like whatever data that we have on the left FMS has been replicated over here. So I'll leave this as a nav page, and I usually leave this as the flight plan page 1. Now we can start the APU, but before I do that, I want to file this flight plan to IVAO server so that we can connect online and do rest of the flight. Let's see what is the altimeter settings. It is 29904. So I will set that over here in Barrow, and the Barrow settings are synchronized between the captain's primary flight display and the co-pilot. So we can see it is 29904 set here as well. And the standby instrument need to be set manually. So I set that to 29904. And yeah, the cruising altitude is going to be 21,000 feet or flight level 210. I'll set that here. (210) set, and I'll turn on the flight director by arming the altitude. So I click on altitude arm or altitude select in this airplane's terminology, and we are going to follow the flight management computer's navigation. So instead of wings leveled, we will select the nav hold or LNAV. So we can see the LNAV is selected now. Instead of pitch hold, what we can do, or the easiest or the best option would be to go indicated airspeed hold. And in this airplane, it's usually 165 knots. That is a best climb speed as far as I know. It can differ based on many factors, but since this is within the simulator, I felt 165 knots as the sweet spot for initial climb. And once we cross 10,000 feet, I will increase the speed to 180 knots. Like, this is unlike the jetliners, which can go up to 250 knots, or it has more power to produce. It can go up to 250 knots or even more. this plane is restricted. Like this has a lot of power, but it also need to consider the weight, and the best way is to um, climb in a lower speed so that we can reach the cruising altitude very soon. So I will select indicated airspeed hold and set the speed as 165 knots. So most of these information or the flight preparation is done. All that is left is to pre-file on a network. I select IVAO. Flight number will be JAS 240, instrument flight rules, and it's a scheduled air transport. Rest of the information remains the same. The departure time, we are already 2:58 UTC or 2:58 Zulu. So let me set this as 0320. 20 minutes should be sufficient for us to do the startup and go all the way to the runway holding point. I'll leave the cruise speed and okay, the flight level is 210 because this is an eastbound flight. This is our route. Destination is Toronto Pearson. Total estimated time is 43 minutes. Alternate airport is London, Ontario. So including the flight crew, pilot and passengers, the total people on board is 65 people, and our endurance for today is 2 hours. So I hit submit on the flight plan. JZA240. I think for Jazz Aviation the call sign remains Jazz, but let's check that. Yeah, JZA ICAO sign and the call sign is Jazz. So we will announce as Jazz 240 in the radio. So the flight plan is also filed. Let's connect to the IVAO network. JZA 240 DH8D and okay, there's a question. Do you like Embraer E2 series? I think it's better than the 220. Honestly, like I like every single airplane that can fly, and of course E2 series is no different. Like I think it's one of the most advanced planes currently available in the market. And yes, the Porter Airlines fly the E2 190 or 195, I think. I don't remember. But yes, it's one of the beautiful planes. I wish I can fly as a passenger, of course, in one of these airplanes in the near future. Let's see. So it's Air Canada Express and it's operated by Sky Regional. I'll leave that as it is and I'll hit connect. We don't have any ATC at the moment, so we'll switch to 1 to 2.8, or we will continue to stay in 1 to 2.8 until we have an ATC. I wonder why do we have the terrain radar on. I'll just switch that to weather radar, and the weather radar is selected, but it is off right now. So I'll enable receiving from COM 2. Okay, now it is selected, and I will set the weather radar to standby and set the auto tune from FMS for both the radio stack. As far as I know, rest of the flight preparation looks good to me. It's time to start the APU. There should be a switch which says, or which gives us the option to switch between daytime and nighttime so that the lights are not too intense. Okay, there we go. It's dim and bright, so I just set it to dim. I don't know if we can do it further. Okay, it's only one option, bright or dim. I'll leave it to dim. Okay, so you have the vision jet. That's nice. So is it like you fly actively in a specific simulator, or do you switch between X-Plane and Microsoft Flight Sim? And is the vision jet in MSFS or in the X-Plane? As far as I know, the vision jet in MSFS is way better because it's a payware, I believe. And we do have one here in X-Plane 12, which is a freeware. Uh, Maybe I just loaded that airplane once and never flew that after that. Okay, APU master or the APU power is on, and then we'll start the APU and we'll put the anti-collision lights to red, letting know the ground crew that we are about to start the engines. And once we have the APU running, we can disconnect the ground power. In the meanwhile, I'll go into the cabin. 16 is cold, so we don't want the boarding lights now. Lavatory lights can also go off. Air stair door lights, no, not needed. Cabin overhead and cabin sidewall, or can we leave it like this? The other way is cooler, I think. We'll leave it like this until we go to the runway, and then we'll turn this off as well, because the cabin need to be dark during the takeoff and landing. So I'll leave it like this now for now. Okay, you fly the Vision Jet in X-Plane 12. It is also in MSFS 24, but the autopilot is very buggy. I see. Okay. MSFS 24 is a buggy game. Yeah, I cannot agree more to that. Okay, the generator is available, so we will turn off the external power on DC as well as AC. And I turn on the generator. Bleed air goes on. So we'll leave the actual bleeds in off position until we have both the engines running, and we can let go of the GPU. Disconnect GPU, please. And then we can put the tablet aside. So now we can turn off the dome lights. We don't need that. It's off. So we will turn off the storm lights as well once we are near the runway. So let's do the better pushback, pre-planned pushback. We're going to be facing north, I guess. So I'll set it like this: nose left and tail right.
Ground to cockpit. Plan acknowledged. Call me through the menu when you are ready.
We are actually ready, so you can actually start the pushback.
Ground to cockpit. Tow is driving up.
Sure, thank you. Armrests in position. Circuit breaker lights, which is these ones over here.
Okay, all doors and hatches are closed. Ready to connect.
Sure. And I'll put the circuit breaker lights on the co-pilot side as well. Okay, that's the lights are too bright.
Winching strap and adapter in position. Release parking brake when ready to start pushback.
Does this plane have fly-by-wire and auto trim? No, not at all. Like almost like it does not even have a auto throttle in the first place. So there's no auto trim or the fly-by-wire option that you asked about. Okay, I think this guy asked us to release the brakes to to engage the winch. I'll release the brakes. Brakes released. Okay, we don't have any ATC.
Starting pushback, and you may start engines.
Thank you. So we'll set both of these props to feather or start position, and we'll start engine 2. Push it on to the other side and hold the start, so we can see the NH RPM rising. And after 30, I'll release the starter switch, so we can see the prop spinning already. Okay, we have a good start on engine 2. Let's start engine 1 and then hit the starter. We can see the NH RPM rising, and we can see the engine status from here. Do you have any tips for flying planes like the 737 or Q400 which do not have
Operation
auto
complete.
trim?
Set
Because
parking brake.
practice is the only tip I can give you, because like I've been doing the flight sim since 2008 or 9, and it took almost two complete years for me to learn how to control the Cessna 172. So that is where I started. And the more you fly a plane, the more you'll be able to control that or get hold of the trim option. Give me 1 second. Okay, I'm back. And I mean, like I said, practice is the best tip I can give you. I mean, not really. So the thing is, like, it's up to the individual's preference. So if you like to fly the 320, yeah, of course, it's a great airplane. I mean, if you have the tallest, then it's like a piece of cake. You don't need to do literally anything. All you have to do is import the flight plan, and then you hit the initialize button here on the FMC, and it does the job for us. Simple as that. I love flying tallest airplanes or Airbus in general. But yeah, if you really want to uh, kind of show off, then yeah, try practicing in the 737 or in the Q400. So I set the props to 850 RPM. So we can see the engines are stabilizing now. Okay. 65, it will actually saturate in 64% RPM for NH. Okay, there we are. So now what we can do is bit of static standby 1 and 2, and then bleeds on. APU can go off because we have sufficient power from generator 1 and 2. Okay, it's the guy who's still there. Parking brake set.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
I completely forgot about that guy. Standby hydraulic pressure is on. Power transfer unit control is also on. and then we set flaps 5 for takeoff. We don't want these electrical DLs on the first officer's display, so I'll set that to nav. So yeah, we have nav here. By default, the terrain radar is selected. I'll switch that to weather radar. And right now, the actual module is in standby mode.
Nose disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal on the right. We'll see you next time and have a safe flight.
Like I said, I'm really not much into the other sims. So let's say I choose to fly MSFS or MSFS 2024 only if I want to do some VFR flights with the default aircrafts, because I have already spent a lot on the X-Plane 12. So in case if it's an IFR flight, it'll mostly be X-Plane for me. So yeah, thanks for the offer, but I think I'm good. So let's take a quick look from the outside. It looks super cool to me. Let's quickly do a flight control check. Control lock is released, and we go full forward, full back, full left, full right, rudder right, rudder left, and engage the control locks again. Let's quickly check if we have an ATC. Nobody. Okay. So we may have to enter and backtrack for runway 22 from here, because I see a disconnection here in the taxiway. Turn on the taxi lights. Brakes, toe brakes hold, and parking brakes released, and little push in the throttle. Oh, we forgot something. Turn on the nose wheel steering, do a full right and full left check. Looks good to me. Brakes released, and we will continue our taxi. So let's do a quick announcement in the IVAO. Sudbury traffic, Jazz 240, taxi to holding point, runway 22, Sudbury. Most of my communication in the Honeycomb will be quick. I usually don't go into details until or unless it's really required. So I don't think we have. Yep, it's finishing over here, so we have to take left here on this runway and then enter and backtrack. So since that is the case, and what is this one right here? That's the runway. What does that mean? I don't know. So since that is the case, and this airplane does not have a dedicated switch for both beacon and strobe lights, we have to turn off the beacon and turn on the strobe lights. Add a little power to the throttle. And then we set the transponder to TARA, or on Alt in short. Oh, I think I'm good for now with with the default Cessna 152, and there's like I think there's a cool realism mod in terms of the flight physics or dynamics. In case if I want to switch planes, then yeah, I'll definitely let you know. Sudbury traffic jazz 240 line up correction, enter and backtrack runway 22 Sudbury. Okay, another cool thing about this Q400 is that, or at least this add-on, is that the speed calculation is automatic. You don't have to refer to the speed charts. All you have to do is just click on here, and that gave us the V1 rotate and V2 speeds for us. So yeah, I mean, in order to add realism, we can of course refer to the pilot operating handbook and then select these speeds manually based on the total weight. For this flight, I'm not into the mood of doing a manual work, so I'll let the system choose the speeds for me. So I have mapped a switch within the flight sim. I just don't remember what it is. I may have to check that once I line up to the runway. Or maybe I can park the vehicle here and quickly take a look at the settings page. Parking brake is set. Oh, okay, that's engine start switch. Okay, we don't need that. So before we line up to the runway, let's turn off the bleeds, because we need that additional power to the runway. So we'll set the props to 1000 RPM. Brakes released, and then we line up. Sudbury traffic, Jazz 240 line up and takeoff runway 22, IFR destination Toronto Pearson, Sudbury. So we turn on the landing lights. And we can turn on the yaw damper. Hold position and turn the weather radar on. Why does it still show standby? Okay, I think missing a step. It's just that I don't know. I think I did something the other day to engage or actually turn on the weather radar. Okay, I'll figure that out after I'm airborne. Okay, props forward. Oh, the control locks need to be released first. Control locks released. Takeoff thrust set. Airspeed alive. 80 knots checked. V1 rotate. Positive climb, gear up. Gears going up. Trim the airplane for 15 degrees nose up, and then follow L nav, 2000 feet. Sudbury traffic, Jazz 240, airborne runway 22 crossing 2500 for flight level 210, Sudbury. Flaps are going up. I'll turn on the yaw damper. Crossing 4000, autopilot is engaged. What we can do now is bring the props to 900 RPM, and then we can turn on the bleeds. Touched runway. Maybe I forgot to set something within the landing altitude. I don't know. Taxi lights can go off. Fasten seatbelt signs can go off. So we have approximately 15 knots from our tail. I'll set the nav display to 80 nautical miles. We can turn off the standby hydraulic pressure switch and PTU control switch. Okay, I just saw your last question, and I don't think it's a good idea to do that. Let's take a quick look in the web eye to see if do we have any traffic, or we can use the Navigraph to check that. Okay, we're right here. We just started from Sudbury, and we're going all the way to Toronto, and I don't see any other traffic in the radar today except this one right here, which is going from Ottawa to I-80. I-80 is Washington, I think. I don't remember. Maybe I'm wrong or maybe I'm right. Crossing 10,000 feet, landing lights can go off, and the wing and logo lights can also go off. I don't know what this means. I'll leave this as it is, as long as it's not interrupting our flight. And our landing elevation is going to be close to 600 feet, so I'll set the landing altitude. So this is like 500, 1000, 1500 and 2000. So I'm setting it just above 500 feet because the airport elevation is 560 feet, I guess, at Toronto Pearson. Yeah, I agree with you. In some aspect, yes, it's a little scary to be in a turboprop than inside a jet engine airplane. And I don't know if you were in the stream since the beginning, but um, the first ever flight I took was in SpiceJet Q400. So I had kind of a mixed feeling because I'm usually scared of heights, and I love airplanes. And I'm a person who usually does not enjoy the roller coasters either. So it was scary as well as fun at the same time. I don't know uh, what other words I can use to express that feeling, but honestly, that is how I felt when I flew for the first time. Since we crossed 10,000 feet, I'll increase the speed to 180 knots. So the airplane will level off a little bit to gain the speed, and then it'll start to climb again. So it's been 30 minutes or almost 30 minutes since we connected online. So that's me right here. Jazz Aviation 240 from Sudbury to Toronto Pearson, flight level 210-8. Zero 0109 knots, 22 degrees and 299.7. Yeah, okay. I've only flown in Indigo 320, Air India 787, ATR, SpiceJet 737. I really want to fly in the 747 or 380 or the E2. Yeah, I think the last passenger aircraft or the passenger airline that flies the 747 is Lufthansa, and they are also going to stop the service, or they may stop flying the 747 maybe when the 78 when the 777X is out in the service. So just in case if you want to fly the 747, then Lufthansa will be the best option. But for 380, you do have a lot of airlines. I've been in 380 once in the sense like for a round trip. It was the Etihad 380. I mean, like looking at the 380 in the videos or in the photos or in the flight sim is way different than how it appears in the real life. Like when I was sitting inside the airplane and I looked through the window, the wing size itself was so huge, and I felt like when the airplane was taking off, I felt like a whole city is actually being airlifted somehow. That is how I felt when I was in the 380. I cannot express like how huge or the feeling that I had when I was in the Airbus 380. So we just crossed 18,000 feet or flight level 180. So I set the standard altimeter settings to 992. And we're just continuing to monitor the flight. Air India 747 is the beast. It has an old vintage feel, and the upper deck is the best. Yep. I don't remember when did Air India stop the 747, but it must be more than 10 years now. Okay, 1000 left for our cruise altitude. I saw an A380 parked once. It was huge. Yep, it's the biggest airplane that we have in service right now. And yeah, I've been in 787 as well. It's one of the smoothest plane I have ever been in. And again, the 787 was with Etihad. Etihad is doing really great job. One of the best airlines, I would say. We are reaching 210 or 21,000 feet, and we can further reduce the prop to 850 RPM, which will give us the max cruise rating or range or whatever you want to call that. And we can do the quick VNAV programming. So we don't want this altitude constraint. I'll remove that. How do I clear? Hit back. That's it. Hit enter. This should be 3000 feet. 3000. And then we go into VNAV. We select our target vertical speed as 1500. And we approximately have 13 minutes to initiate our descent into Toronto Pearson. And is it raining? I can't see anything. And I don't see anything here in the weather radar as well. A350, yeah, there are a lot of airlines that flies the A350, but if you want to fly within India, of course Air India has it. If not, then I think Virgin Atlantic, Ethiopia or Ethiopian Airlines, Etihad, British Airways, all of these airlines flies the A350 to and from India. Okay, 77% of torque is not required. We can slow down a little bit. Maybe I'll set that to 65 or 60. Is fine. What do you think about the new CFM RISE engines? Airbus will use them in their next plane and they look horrible. Maybe I don't know, because I'm yet to read the news about the new CFM engines. So maybe I can take a look at that and let you know at a later time. CFM RISE engines, maybe we can take a look at it right now. It's just that we only have approximately 70 nautical miles for our top of descent. Let's do a quick check. CFM International RISE program is Advanced Jet Engine Project, focusing on open air architecture. Oh, okay. Hybrid electric system and 20% reduction in fuel consumption. That's nice. Wow. Okay. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe from the initial looks, I'm not a fan of how this appears in a jetliner or in any airplane for that matter. But maybe we'll get used to it someday. Let's see. Okay, we don't have any ATC so far. And our descent altitude will be 3000 feet. I will set that in the MCP once the TOD is less than 40 nautical miles. And just in case if you missed, you can go into my YouTube channel and take a look at the A380 um, landing video that I have posted in one of the YouTube shots. So all you have to do is go to YouTube. Oops. YouTube.com and then type in Madras Pilot. Go to the channel and go to the shots, and you can see it right here. This is the video that I recorded when we landed in Toronto Pearson in the A380. At what altitude do you enable approach mode? Because the diesel phase is always too late in the 320, so I like to do it manually. Okay. So when it comes to selecting the approach, what I usually do is I select this ILS option. Like I think next to the flight director in the Airbus cockpit, there's ILS, and I do that. Like I initially engage or arm the localizer to fully line up, and around that time I will be somewhere between 210 knots to 180 knots. But let's say once the glide slope is alive, like when it starts to move from the top to the middle, I'll reduce my speed to 160 knots and arm the approach. So when the glide slope is captured, I'll make sure I'm somewhere at or around 160 knots when flying in Airbus. And what I usually do is when we take a look at the DME, and when we are around 5.5 or 6 DME, that is when I will set the approach speed. Like I'll set the system to select the speed so that it will start to reduce and go to the final approach speed. So until 5 or 6 DME, I'll be flying 160 knots in an Airbus, or mostly in any plane for that matter. Not in this one though, but in the jet engines. Oh, thanks for the subscription. I thought you are one of my channel subscriber already. I didn't know that you're new to the channel. Welcome to the channel and welcome to the stream again. Thanks for explaining. No problem at all. Like I'm not a real world pilot. I'm just sharing my experience or the way I do in the simulator. But I think I'm not deviating from the real world procedure. So we are almost there. So we'll set the altitude to 3000 feet. And then we hit Alt Select. So when we are less than 15 nautical miles, we will be able to see the VNAV path indicator here next to the altitude tape, and that is when we hit the VNAV button here, and the airplane will start following the VNAV path. But again, the speed has to be controlled manually because there's no auto throttle. And since we are about to start the descent, we can check we can do a simple click over here. That'll give us the approach speed. So our final approach speed today will be 120 knots for flaps 15. I wish you all the best with the cadet program or your future dream about being a pilot. Like we all have been there at some point. At least I was there. And as you know, becoming a pilot in India is not easy, just because it's very expensive. So yeah, here I am, like just doing the flight sim for a decade now. At least I can do this. Okay, 15.4, 3, 2, 1, and we should see the VNAV glide path anytime here. Or has that changed to 10 nautical miles? I don't know. Let's see. Nautical miles. Okay, we have it here. So now we can go and press the VNAV button, and then we can see the VNAV is selected as well. So when this starts moving to the middle, then the airplane will start descending. All we have to do is monitor the speed and make sure we are not overspeeding or doing a nosedive. Before we start our descent, let's quickly check the weather at Toronto Pearson. So the IVAO says 0109 knots, 15 statute miles, 22 degrees and 29907. Okay, this was 45 minutes ago and it's the same data because it was recorded at the 3 Zulu on the 31st of July. So yeah, we can see it's starting to, or we are about to start our descent. So we are having some decent tailwinds. We may have to control the speed. Let's try to maintain somewhere between 230 and 220 until 10,000 feet and further reduce it once we go below the 10,000 feet. Okay, bringing back the throttles. missed you, chat. You're saying that you're practicing adapt test every day. Is that some sort of a mock test that you can take online? I don't know what that is. Okay, 19 is too cold. Let's set that to 22 at least. And it'll take some time to raise the temperature within the cabin. We just set it to, or we just increased it by a few points. It should take care of the temperature here. Okay, below the transition altitude, so we'll set to 9er 7. It is set and checked on the co-pilot side, and we'll set that in the standby instruments. So another cool thing about this add-on is that it has a built-in checklist, which is also really great. So let's say we have cruise and descent and approach, like literally from before start to all the way up to last flight. So let's say if we want to follow the descent checklist, so I'll go here. The altimeters are set. Approach and landing briefing is self-explanatory because I'm the only person flying. Reviewed. Cabin altitude controls, yes, we did that. We have set 600 or 500 feet here in the system, so we have set that as well. Ice protection is not required. The descent checklist is complete. Next one will be the approach checklist. We can do this when we are flying downwind for the runway 06 right. Let's see if I can turn off the storm lights and see how it looks. Not bad. Now actually I can see outside. I don't know if it was visible earlier, but now it's much better. I'll just leave this as it is. It may appear too dark in the stream. If so, just let me know. I'll turn on those lights again. Let's check if we have any ATC. No, good. Yeah, I agree. I usually don't have those lights on. But in the past, like whenever I did a stream, later when I review those videos, that is when I felt like it is too dark whenever I'm doing a night flight stream. So I thought I'll have those lights on, but maybe it's not the best thing to do with this add-on. So I'll just leave it off. So we are here descending into Duos to arrival. We are expected to be or cross Duos at 10,000 feet, followed by Depco at 9,000. And I've removed the altitude constraint here at one of these downwind waypoints, just because we won't be needing the extended downwind. We don't have to be at that altitude. It will only be a trouble for us when we further turn into the base leg and to the final. Okay, this add-on is FlyJSim Q400. I just remembered the name. It's a tail strike warning indicator. It triggers when the rear lower fuselage makes physical contact with the ground during takeoff or landing due to an excessive pitch up angle. Okay, maybe I know why it's showing up here, because when I initially loaded the flight in Explain, I loaded into one of those like general aviation ramp where the plane was actually like hanging between the ramp and a hangar. So maybe that's why it started to show this option or this alert. I don't know how to clear that, but I hope it will not create any problem for rest of our flight. So we are below 10,000 feet. Turn on the landing lights and logo lights and the wing lights. So wing lights should be on. We should be able to see the wings and the engine. Yeah, it's clear of ice, there's no problem. So we do see the airport. Airport is in sight and we have the perpendicular runways. I mean perpendicular to runway 06. But we're not going to use these runways today. It's going to be 06 right or 05. In our case, we are going for 06 right. Okay, I'll increase the speed a little bit. A 180 knots is too slow when we are really this far from the airport. I'll set to 30% of the torque and reduce the range to 20 nautical miles. So let's take a look at the charts for runway 06 right. I think it'll be 200 radio altimeter for the decision height. I just want to double check that. Not the arrival approach 06 right. Yep, 200. So I'll set that here in the primary flight display. 200 set. I'll set the same here. $200 set and check. So the ILS frequency is 111.905. That is tuned into the standby frequency. Oh, that's not 905, it's 91. We need it to be 9. Okay, so there's a small glitch because of which it doesn't let us choose 950. Instead it stays to 960, and like we got 0.010 additional value. Since that is the case, let's try to set the frequency through the FMC. So I go into tune, and then I go into nav 109. No, that's not the one. Tab 111.905. 111.905. Enter. So the actual is set to 111.95. Yep, it is set. Let's do the same for nav 2 maybe. Is that nav 2? No. The other side nav 1, which is right here. This is also set. Leave this to nav and leave this to VNav. Here we are on the downwind for runway 06 right. We can make a quick announcement, so if there is any traffic at Toronto Pearson, they are aware that we are almost there. Pearson traffic Jazz 240 on left downwind for runway 06 right, Toronto Pearson. So we can do the approach checklist. Altimeter is set, lights are on. Landing flap will be 15. Fuel transfer is off. Tank aux pumps 1 and 2 is on. You can set that right here. And standby hydraulic pressure and PTO control switch goes on and on, done. Hydraulic pressure and quantity looks good to me. Yeah, the standby is also up. Passenger signs are on, I think. Okay, now it is on. Caution warning light is not on. Cabin is secured. Next will be our landing checklist. So we can further reduce to 210 knots maybe, or 200 knots. Since we are lining up, let's set the props to 1000 RPM and turn off the bleed air. 900 and 1000. We'll maintain the speed around 200 knots to 180 knots. And our final course is 057, so I'll set that in the heading bug 057. Lining up with runway 06 right, 2500 check, and we have the runway inside, so we have to change the nav source to 1 and then do the approach arm. Okay, we are a little deviated to the left. Runway 06 right. Flaps 10. Gear down. Taxi lights can go on. Auto feather switch to armed. Landing checklist, landing gears down in green, flaps are set, condition levers are set to 1000 RPM, bleed 1 and 2 are off, FAA notification is none. Flaps 15 set. Yeah, I think the gear lever has a light within that circle portion, so the explained 12 night lighting is further enhancing it to a point where it looks like it's like a ball of fire whenever it gets activated. Pearson traffic jazz 240 on short final for runway 06 right. Pearson. Okay, we gave the final announcement before touchdown. The outside view looks beautiful actually. And we'll have the nose wheel steering activated, so it'll help us once we do the touchdown. So there it is, the beautiful 401 highway just next to the runway 06 right. Like whenever I'm on this runway, the highway, and if this runway is active, I usually slow down without realizing that I'm on the highway, and then for a second I have to switch my thoughts and then increase the speed. Okay, 500 feet check. Autopilot is off. Manual controls. I'm a little off to the right.
Minimums.
Check.
Minimums.
Landing.
train 100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Max reverse. Landing lights can go off, strobe can go off, and the beacon can go on. Spoilers retracted. Pearson traffic jazz 240 vacated runway 06 right, taxiing to gates. Pearson traffic. And then we can turn off or put the weather radar to standby, and then we can continue our taxi. Oh, the flaps can go up, and then we are crossing 06 left and 24 right. Just want to see. Okay, we vacated on Delta 1, so we'll continue on Alpha. And then maybe we'll park somewhere here close to the terminal. I don't remember which is terminal 1 and 3. Yep, we'll go to terminal 3. So yeah, let's go ahead and turn on the lights for passengers so that they can grab their bags even before the plane is on full, has reached its gate. We can turn off the yaw damper. Yep. So it took us exactly 48 minutes to reach from Sudbury to Toronto. You should open the cabin door while taxiing for fresh air. Yeah, I wish I can do that. Since we are taxiing, we don't need 1000 RPM. We can set that to 850. And we'll probably take this taxiway to the gates. Okay, let's power on the APU. Okay, I should have taken the other taxiway. Let's see if we can just do a quick turn. Since nobody's here, I'm just going to take the turn just like that and park over here. Okay, brake set, and I guess we can turn on these lights. So the pumps can go off. Auto feather is already off. All we have to do is bring this to feather position. And wait for the ground power to get connected. Or maybe I need to further shut the engines completely off. Is the external power on? Okay, we need to turn off rotating beacon lights, and it should connect automatically. So we are on the gates, so we can set the transponder to standby. And we can turn off these two. I don't understand why we don't have the GPU connected yet, but we have the start unloading option, so I'll do that. Okay, we can see the other things will happen in the same sequence, where the packs are getting deplaned. Once that is done, the bags will also get unloaded, and at some point it will be like 0 of 55 passengers, and same goes with the cargo load. There's another option where I can just do a fast unload, so that I don't have to wait for all of these to be going in sequence. In the meantime, we can disconnect from IVAO. Our flight for today is complete. So here we can see the times and the fuel that were required for this flight. So our total flight time was 45 minutes from takeoff to landing. And initially we had 2,200 kilograms of fuel. Right now we have 1,592 kilograms left, where we used only 608 kilograms of fuel to fly from Sudbury to Toronto. Okay, and the sound we just heard was the baggage door. We should be able to see it from the external view. Yep, it's this door right here. Okay, now I understand why we don't have the ground power yet, because the taxi lights are still on. So I'll turn this off and we should have the ground power anytime. Connecting GPU. Yep, that's expected. And sometime we forget. That is why we have checklist, and I did not follow that either. Still connecting GPU. Okay, GPU connected. And switch to external power for both AC and DC. And then we can turn off the APU. We still have some people left. We'll see if I can take a look at the cabin. So here we have the lavatory. Cool. Do we have any of these options? Yeah, I don't know. Just close this. And this door right here actually leads to the baggage area. See? So I'll close that. Then we can take a look at, oops. So yeah, we were able to bring the airplane in one piece, which is great. There's like still 19 people left. We don't need the wing lights. We can turn that off. But we'll leave the logo lights on. It looks so beautiful in this livery. I guess that is all we have for today's flight, and I really appreciate whoever was here in the stream, and you. I mean, I don't know your real name, but you were here, I guess, for almost the whole stream. I really appreciate that you spent the time here in my stream watching the flight. Honestly, like, I just started to do live stream on a weekly basis. Like, I started only last week, and I believe you are the first person to stay for the entire stream. Thank you so much for that. And we will catch up in the next stream. Thank you all.